Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show with your hosts, Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck. Now, let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I am Uncle Buck. I am joined again today by the honorary third Buck, Mr. Kenny Stubblefield. Stubblefield, how you doing?
I knew you couldn't say no to me. I know you couldn't resist me. You tried your hardest last night. Let's break the kayfabe wall here. You tried your hardest to replace me last night, and it didn't work. I'm here, baby.
I only have the best of intentions. My intentions is to try to grow the brand, grow the company a little bit. Yeah. Also, maybe even try to grow myself on our show a little bit. And so I just first extended the invite to anybody else on the Bluff City Media Network that may want to do some little co-conspirator action together. And I knew you'd always be here. You know, you're always my number two. I appreciate
that. That's the story of my life. I'm always
you could be number three. Okay?
I'm always somebody's number two. All right. I'm always somebody's number two.
You know what? When I think of you, I look at you, Kenny. I just think that guy looks like number two.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, everybody, for being here on the Two Buck Sports Show. We've already got Edward in the comments, and I know we got plenty more coming. I'm sure we'll see some Wayno and some Jared and everybody else. All of our usuals here. Yep. In the Cheers bar here, the normal, the norms. Norm.
No.
You know, I look back at and I look at our chat a lot and I think of like Cheers. Did you ever watch Cheers? I mean, I know it's before your time, you're old, but it's still before your time. But I love Cheers, and I think about our chat and our regulars, the way that I think about Norm. You know, like you're 100%. Always there. I love the fact it's familiar, and I love it. And so always appreciative to those guys in the chat here. We've got a show for you today that
I'm pushing strays, man. Y'all might be too old for that. Why are you saying that? I know SpongeBob, man. I got an 11-year-old son. He loves SpongeBob.
Yeah, he may. How old are you? 42, 43?
44, man.
44. Yeah, I mean, you probably were a prime age for SpongeBob because you kind of caught the subtle references, you know, that us kids didn't catch. Yes. You know, that we grow up and it's like, oh, I think I may have been scarred by this.
Yeah.
You know, are you talking about Mr. Krabs and Sandy Bottoms or whatever her name was, Bikini like maybe I should have like. You know, I was super sheltered. I remember my parents will never admit to this for some reason. They just blocked it out of their memory. Right. But in this Southern Baptist home that I grew up in, they had a cuss word scrambler on the TV.
You said this. I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah. I maybe it's one of those Mandela effects. Like, I know this happened, but they swear it didn't. But my sisters agree. But it would even like crap. It would like you would hear a blank space and would say crud, like crud. Just some random person that didn't match the voice of the actor at all. About crud, you know. But
that is some technology. SpongeBob. That is technology that was before its time. Like that's pretty unbelievable stuff.
I've often wondered. It had to be tied in with like the closed captioning or something. Like you had to be some closed captioning involved. I don't know. Probably didn't work on live TV, just pre-recorded movies and such. But like,
what was this? What was the cuss word scrambler called? Like,
I have no idea. I mean, this was before even DVR.
Wow.
This was before TiVo, because I remember getting TiVo and that was like a big deal. Like my dad, it was like my dad, when TiVo was put into our home for the first time, it had to feel like what the early Mississippians felt like when they got electricity. Exactly. Like that was the equivalent for my father. Like, you're telling me I can pause this sports game and I don't have to watch any commercials?
I can press pause and then I can go make a cup of coffee.
I don't know if you were like this. Yeah. I don't know if you were like this, but like when we got TiVo, we quit watching commercials. My dad would pause the show at 8:00 and we would not start it until it had gone far enough into the show that we could fast forward through all the commercials.
Absolutely.
And it was fine because there was no Twitter. Yeah. I didn't have to worry about getting spoiled. Anything spoiled. So
I was talking to my brother-in-law about this weekend. My generation is I think the last generation that is in 2025, we are technology, like we have a savvy about technology. We understand it. I'm not too old where I don't understand technology or understand how to work things, make things happen, in this new technological day and age.
Yeah.
But I was driving a car. I had a license when there was no internet, when there was no like smartphones, when there was no, when the cell phone you had was one that fit the whole side of the face. Like it is like, this is my generation is the final generation that will remember not having. I remember the first time I signed up, I did the AOL dial up and was like, what is that awful screeching coming out?
Listen, in North Mississippi where I grew up, it sounds like the start of an Alan Jackson song right there. In North Mississippi where I grew up, we had dial-up internet way too long. I mean, people were streaming and we were still on dial-up. The best thing that Mississippi did is during COVID, they did, because there are so many dark spots in Mississippi when it comes to like internet and cell signal. Yeah, they did like a statewide mandate to put fiber throughout the whole state. And that was when we were able to like get reliable internet. That was like 2020, 2021.
Was that when, if you look at the heat map of the United States, when Mississippi kind of like actually had light on it? Like, was that when you got fiber, when it was like, whoa, now?
Oh yeah. I would put Mississippi up against any state in the U.S. right now when it comes to like reliable internet coverage in rural parts of your state. Like, I did it at my company.
Yeah,
like
you did it.
The electric cooperatives hung the fiber and owns the internet and became a ISP. And so, anyways, listen, we've got a fun show for you. We've got a guest in the green room right now we're going to get to in just 1 minute. His name is Jarod Hamilton. He's from PowerMizzou.com. We're going to talk to Missouri Tigers. Me and Buckets have been really ramping up to this college football season. And
my gosh, yes.
And when we talked about starting to go daily this week, one of the main priorities leading up to college football season was an ambitious goal of trying to get one of every school's representative to SEC schools representative on our show to talk about their school. Jarod is the first one, and we could not be more happy to have Jarod to talk about the Missouri Tigers, a darling, a kind of a Cinderella-ish story last year. Is it a flash in the pan, or is it repeatable? I've got a lot of thoughts on Elijah Drinkwitz. I got a lot to talk about with Jarod, and so I'm really looking forward to that. So we're going to get to him in just 1 minute. So,
I love
anything else, Kenny, before we get to Jarod?
No, I'm just excited about football season starting, man. Absolutely. It is. I'm a basketball guy. I grew up playing basketball. I enjoy basketball. I watch more basketball than any other sport. But there's something about covering Saturdays in the fall on a football field that is just so exciting. It is the best part of my year, and I am so glad that it's
back. It is, and this is one thing that I tried to convey when we were really pitching our Grind City Brewing Company partnership with all of our Saturdays that we're going to do there. Is that college football is, I hate saying religious, but that's the word that's probably the most relatable term. It is like a religious experience where it's like you take the Sunday potluck at your local Baptist church that you do on 4th of July and you plan it on Saturdays, and you take like 50% of the Jesus out of it, and you act a little stupid, but it's fun. It's with your friends. It's a community, and it's all based around a sport that we love. And, most of us here in the South don't have a pro football team in your backyard anyway. So the college football team is it. And so we're going to get into all that. We're going to start with Missouri. We're going to take our commercial break real quick. We're going to take it early. We're going to get to Jarod. When Jarod and I finish up, we're going to come back to Kenny to close out our show, and can't wait. So let's hit the commercial break right now, Kenny, and get to Jarod.
Choking and token. The Mid-South's first cannabis-themed jiu-jitsu tournament.
August 16th at Midtown Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu.
At 1 p.m. 21 plus to compete or consume.
Consumption not required.
Ounce of Hope is licensed by the state of Tennessee. This is all 100% legal hemp products. Everything's good to go.
We'll have gi divisions.
No gi divisions.
Madison bracket, guaranteeing 4 matches per division, plus an absolute winner.
Each fighter receives an Ounce of Hope gift bag, and there's prizes for every winner.
Check out the link below to sign up.
Read some stuff about Gigi this week.
Uh-oh, I didn't.
No, good.
Okay, good.
Gigi talked about how he's changing his routine. He's getting up earlier in the morning and, trying to get his day started. He wants to make sure that he's like 30 minutes early to everything. And, those are little things, but those are things that, hey, if you're serious, come on, do those things.
No, that shows a level of growth because you want to create a routine. I think what it was in the past, if we're talking about it in this fashion, was there was no real routine. It was get up when you got up. You were going to get the work in, but it was whenever you got it in. Yeah, this is not a question of if he's good enough to do it. It was he going to be mature enough to allow himself to be good enough to do it. A lot of how we will be how much growth he has made.
Tune in to the Night Court Podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
Welcome back to the $2 Sports Show. I am joined by Jarod Hamilton of PowerMizzou.com. We're going to talk the Missouri Tigers. We're going to talk a little SEC and just see where the night takes us. Jarod, how you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
Man, it's just a day in paradise here in Mississippi. So you are a beat writer for PowerMizzou.com, Missouri Tigers. Let's start with last season. I think I want to start with last season, but I also want to go back towards the end here because I'm kind of fascinated by Drinkwitz and what he's doing here. Last season, Missouri seemed like they kind of just came up out of nowhere. You had everybody knew about Luther Burden. Everybody loved Luther Burden and Brady Cook, but Missouri goes to a 10-3 season with a bowl win. I guess that would be 5-3 in the SEC. Losses to Bama, South Carolina, and A&M. No shame in any of those. Going forward, what do you see this year?
A little more of the same as far as, being able to get around 9 or 10 wins. It actually dates back a couple years ago, back to 2023. They got that Cotton Bowl win over Ohio State,
right?
11-2. And so that was kind of the one where it jump started out of nowhere. And then last year, the expectations going into the season were a little high. I mean, not high in a bad way. They were just high based off what they had done. I think the coaches poll just came out a couple of days ago, and I remember last year's coaches poll, they were somewhere around 11th going in a year, or
right.
The AP poll. There's so many polls I get them mixed up, but
yeah.
They were 11th going into the year basically, and so last year was a weird year because they dealt with injuries to, quarterback Brady Cook. He had a high ankle sprain. He had a broken wrist. There were some days where you thought the offense would be the strength of the team just because of the talent they had on offense. And they had 8 returning starters on offense. And so it took a step back compared to 2023. And so now in 2025 now, I think this is a team that, even though they're still having a quarterback battle, they're still trying to figure out their left tackle. I mean, you could still, with the schedule, you could get 8 or 9 wins for sure, as long as your quarterback is just okay. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Missouri, and I think there's a lot of decal bias in that. They just, when I was at SEC Media Days and I seen that Missouri was picked 12th, I mean, I get it, just because, as beat reporters, you only know about the team you're covering for real.
Right.
People actually think you get to watch all the games. Your whole day, your whole week is to one team, so I can kind of get that from one point, but also it's just like, I think there's also a bit of overcorrection on people's part as far as like they gave them this big thing going into last year as far as like they can do this, and that, and it wasn't necessarily that, so people scaled back a little bit.
Right. I think when you look at it, and I'm a diehard Rebel. I'm an Ole Miss fan. My parents are both Ole Miss grads. That's my poison, I guess. It's the best way that I could put it. It's not always been easy, but if you, from an outsider's perspective, and you tell me how I'm wrong, okay? Because I'll pull up the FanDuel numbers here. Bluff City Media's FanDuel users here. FanDuel has their win total at 6.5. And if I were to, as an Ole Miss fan, as an outsider, and again, tell me please how I'm wrong. I'm here to learn. You lose Brady Cook, you lose Luther Burton, Theo DeWeese, Johnny Walker Jr., your leading sacks guy from last year. It's like the sexy positions. I think anybody expects to know everybody's offense and defensive line, linebacker situation, but the sexy positions is what Missouri was known for last year, and you lost all of them. So the win total for FanDuel is at 6.5. So, and the schedule is not too bad. Your non-conference Power 5 is a basketball rivalry with Kansas in week 2. How am I wrong?
Yeah, so personally, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not telling people to do this. I'm just saying, if I was to do this, I'd be smashing over on this 6.5. First off, you start the season with 6 straight home games. This is a team that's, when it kicks off its season on August.
My goodness, that's wild.
August
28th home games, yeah.
August 28th versus Central Arkansas, they'll be looking to win their 11th straight home game. So their last home loss was versus LSU in 2023. Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and the crew. So no shame in that. And that was a close game that they probably should have won. So you get to start the season with 6 straight home games. The sexy positions you were talking about. This edge group, Eli Drinkwitz thinks it can be one of the best in the SEC, if not the country. This edge group is more, it has a lot more depth than it did last year. I know Johnny Walker is like you said, I think he had 9.5, 10 sacks last year, and he went to the NFL. But they got one of 3 5-star transfers in Damon Wilson. He's coming over from Georgia. They have Darius Smith, who tore his ACL last fall camp. He was who everybody was raving about in fall camp last year. They got him back. They got Nate Johnson, who signed from App State in December. When he first signed, the thought was he was going to be the DE1 because as a freshman a couple years ago, he had 7.5 sacks. Came back down a little bit in 2024, and he only had a 2.5. Don't really know the situation there in App State, but that was another quality pass rusher. They got Zion Young still. They got a lot of young guys that they're happy about. Linebackers, they go and get Josiah Trotter, reigning Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, freshman Defensive Player of the Year. Running back, they got Ahmad Hardy, rush for 1,350 yards, 14 touchdown, reigning Sun Belt freshman Offensive Player of the Year. When it comes to quarterback, Bo Prabula or Sam Horn, Bo's a 4-star transfer. I mean, whether it's him or Sam, is going to be a relatively inexperienced, like not a full-time starter type of guy. Like they haven't started before full-time. So I can see questions there. They're having that QB battle, but the way this team talks about the quarterback battle, it's kind of like, regardless, they think they have a starting quarterback. Whoever's like, oh, it's going to be good. It's like a legit competition. And if their backup has to come in, it's not like, oh, it's our backup. They think whoever loses is probably only losing by a little bit. And so, cool, you could just let the QB position play out. Wide receiver, they bring in Kevin Coleman. I'm sure you're familiar with Kevin Coleman, third-team All-SEC, coming from Mississippi State. He's a St. Louis guy. He's a slot guy. I mean, that's probably as good as a one-to-one replacement for Luther Burden. He had 12 or 13 more receptions than Luther last year. He had over 200 yards more than Luther last year, and he had the same amount of touchdowns. And Luther was first team All SEC. That's not a knock on Lou. It's just kind of like same conference. He was on a worse team where everybody knew he was getting the ball, and he still did more. So you're bringing in somebody. He's just maybe not as flashy and maybe as talented, although he's really talented as Luther, but he's a guy that can make some plays. So there's a lot of depth moves. There maybe not be the sexiest all around, or this 5-star guy from here and here, but they brought in a lot more depth that I think the team likes going forward.
Yeah, I totally sympathize with that. We talk about sports every day. We're a big Memphis Grizzlies fan. We do you keep up with the NBA at all? I want to try to make a parallel here.
Okay.
The Memphis Grizzlies traded away their third best player this year, and basically what they got back was a lot of depth. And I think that's what you're saying. Like you lost some sexy players like Luther Burden, but what you're saying is from the transfer portal, who according to 247, transfer portal was 7th in the country, along with a 14th overall high school recruiting class, which is really good. So you're saying that maybe just wait, there may be some stars here, but lots of depth. You think you're more solid.
Yeah, when I get asked which team is better, this year's team or last year's team, I usually say like top end wise, maybe last year's. I mean, you got Luther Burden,
right?
Brady Cook. I mean, when he's not hurt, I mean, he's an Iron Man. He's really willing to put his body on the line.
Right.
Leo Weiss is another quality receiver. So top end wise, yes, maybe last year's team is better from that way. But throughout the roster and feeling better that if this guy gets hurt or if this guy's just tired, we can have somebody sub in, and like that's how they feel about this team. And we was talking to players yesterday. I was talking to cornerback Toriano Pride, and he said the wide receiver room, like he thinks the wide receiver room, the depth has gotten better there. And again, you're losing 2 really good receivers, but the fact that you can feel like, all right, one player, for whatever reason he can't play, there's another one that goes in. I feel like that is better considering how long the season is, how tough the SEC is. You're going to need that. So I think they're in a position where they want to be.
Well, in the era of a 12-team playoff like we are now, I believe that this is a race to 10 wins. We talk about there's a lot of talk about adding a 9th SEC game in there, or getting away with the non-conference Power 5 matchups, and all this. A lot of Big Ten teams, particularly Indiana, kind of made a little headlines by, canceling their game against who was it? Wake Forest or Boston College, one of those ACC schools, because it's like we're just trying to win 10 games, and I got it. Everybody wanted to knock them for kind of taking a loser's quote unquote losers mentality here and not wanting to schedule good games, but if we're all being honest here, it's a race to 10 wins if you're in a Power 5 school, in your Power 4 conference. And if you look at Missouri's schedule, that if you're on a race to 10 wins and you get your first 6 games at home, that's a pretty good start. With a quarterback competition, Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, Lafayette, all at home. Hopefully you have it all worked out. And your real test in a real peer, I would say, and I would even put Ole Miss in this, even though Ole Miss doesn't play Missouri this year, just kind of that second tier of SEC school. You got South Carolina coming to Columbia, Missouri, for a big game. Then UMass and a bye week and Alabama. I mean, I don't see any way that you're any worse than 4-1 going going into the bye week, and then followed by Alabama coming to Columbia, and just at that point, just see what you got.
Yeah, South Carolina is kind of going to be, I'll put it like this: the week 2 game versus Kansas. Obviously, this is this entire state's, not even just Missouri. This is the entire state's biggest rivalry. So I'm not saying that's not a big game. That is a big game. They need to win that, and I liken it back to 2023. In week 3, they faced Kansas State, and Harrison Mevis kicked a 62-yard field goal for the win. And what that game showed us was kind of, you've seen something different, because the offense up until that point, dating back from 2022 to the game right before that versus MTSU, where they struggled and they barely got a win over a team they probably should have dominated. You was just kind of wondering what this offense is going to be like. And you've seen stuff during that game. And so that win boosted them for the rest of the year. And then they go 11-2, win the Cotton Bowl. You can also see in another world where if they lose that game, that rivalry game, that former Big 12 rivalry game, you could see a path to 6-6 or 7-5, right? That's what this Kansas game this year will be. If they lose to Kansas, because you should probably beat Kansas. If you lose to Kansas, you can paint that picture of 6-6, 7-5. If you beat Kansas, you keep the ball rolling. You see what happens versus South Carolina, a game that when they played on the road last year, they basically, it was somewhere in the last 2 minutes, but they had took the lead. Brady Cook on a 4th down throws to Luther Burden down the left sideline. He catches it one hand, goes in for the touchdown. And that was one of the few days that the offense was healthy and doing some stuff, and the defense just didn't have it, because last year it was really more on the defense. They were leaning on the defense to play well, and it's just one of those days where Lenore Sellers also had his best day of his career to that point. So that's going to be a competitive game regardless. You get your lick back at your house. So if you're going into Alabama, 4-1, and you said, because I don't got the schedule pulled up, you said there's a bye week before Alabama?
Yeah, so you got a bye week before Alabama in I guess that would be week number 6 for Alabama.
So yeah, you're right. 4-1. I mean, let's be honest, most people are just you're probably gonna count that as a loss. I mean, anything can happen, but I'm just saying, for the outside looking in and not being I'm not on the team, so I'm not gonna look at it like how most people probably would be. Let's say that's your loss. If you don't get blown out, if you don't have any blowout losses and you go 10-2, you can definitely make the playoff, basically.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you here. I really like your schedule. You made the comment about rivalries. Former Big 12, former Big 10. I mean, Big 8, Missouri. They were in the Big 8, right? The original one. Anyways, Missouri comes over with Texas A&M in 2011, I believe. 12. Right off the bat, makes back-to-back SEC championship game appearances. You talked about rivalries, and we make a lot here about that Thanksgiving week rivalry week. Missouri plays Arkansas. Is there a true rivalry within the SEC that when you think of SEC, I know nothing ever really compares to Iron Bowl or Egg Bowl when it comes to just animosity, but who does Missouri consider their biggest rivalry? And do you think that team also considers Missouri their rival? Because I don't think Arkansas considers Missouri they're obviously the biggest rival is probably LSU. But.
There you go. So, to be honest, I mean, Missouri's biggest rivalry. If you told me Oklahoma, because of the Tiger-Sooner peace pipe and how far that dates back and all that stuff, that makes sense, especially now that Oklahoma obviously is back in the SEC. I would accept that answer. Right. Arkansas to a degree, but anybody who's not a part of the program is going to say what it kind of looks like, which is it's a manufactured rivalry. The SEC created this. Now, there makes sense to it. The battle line, you're kind of competing for similar recruits, all that stuff. I get it. It makes sense. It hasn't kind of got to the point yet of those former Big 12 rivalries, and I feel like that's going to take a lot of time because, again, it's only been 15 years or something like that. It's going to take some time for that to happen. So I guess you could say, if you wanted to, be they've been facing Arkansas around Thanksgiving for the last 12, 13 years, whatever. But you're right. Arkansas would consider LSU as its biggest rivalry. And so it is what it is. Missouri's biggest rival will forever be Kansas, though.
Okay. So that's kind of where I'm getting. One of my biggest beefs with conference realignment, and that's obviously driven by TV money anyway. So you're kind of losing the geographical aspect to conference matchups. When in the world would we ever think we'd have an in-conference matchup between Miami and Stanford? It doesn't make sense. Missouri comes in as the first conference realignment that I can remember, in my lifetime, that really swung the needle. Missouri and Texas A&M coming in. And in that, you lost the Kansas matchup. Texas A&M lost the Texas matchup. I'm sure there's lots of feuds between the schools, like, oh, you're running away from us. You get to play that fan card about, oh, you're scared. In the next realignment, the SEC is currently at 16 teams. There is a always lingering thought that there's going to be 4 teams added to 20. Who knows? Maybe even to 24. Maybe we just look at 2 30-team conference by the end of this. I've made the pitch that instead of thinking about football for the next batch of schools added to the SEC, I would look at Kansas and Duke and North Carolina because the SEC is now one, at least last year, the best conference in basketball too. If you could add a Kansas in, you can bring back in the rivalry with Missouri. You can bring in the Tobacco Road there in North Carolina between Duke and North Carolina. If you can bring that into the SEC, I'm kind of anti expansion anyways, but if you're going to, that makes a lot of sense to me. Would Missouri fans love to see Kansas added to the SEC?
Yes and no. No,
yeah, I get it.
You don't deserve to be in the league with us, not in the SEC. That's how I would assume most Missouri fans would feel. But then also they'd say yes because, I mean, it's a natural rivalry. And like you said, rivalries, it's a big thing in college sports. It's kind of what makes it, in a way, to a degree, go. Like, that's what a lot of people love. So if they could face Kansas every year in football and all these other sports consistently, like, they'd love that. They to them, and I'm sure Kansas fans think the same way too. It's a chance to beat on the little brother. They both think they're the other one's the little brother. So that would be, that'd be a cool thing. I'm from Charlotte, so I'm hip to the Tobacco Road. Thing to Duke in North Carolina. From a basketball perspective, having that rivalry to the SEC would be good. I don't know if it's necessarily necessary because, like you said, the SEC the last few years has been doing this thing in basketball. It's always been doing this thing in football for quite a while. So don't necessarily need it. But I do see, the vision as far as what you're saying, bringing those 3 schools in and kind of having those rivalries. That would be cool. But I'm also a person who's just like, we got to slow down. We got to let things ride for a little bit before the
I agree.
Like the college football playoff going from 4 to 12. I would like a little bit more intermediate. How about we go from 4 to 8?
Oh, I don't agree with that.
I mean, no. I thought, 4 to 12 is cool for what it is now, but I don't 4 to 12. And then now we're already about to be at 14, 16. Like, I'm not a participation award guy. And if you let too many teams get in, I'm not that guy. So I don't love expansion in some things, but I do get this one, and it's not a bad idea.
All right, let's dive into this a little bit then. The college football expanding from 4 teams to 12 teams. I'm not a participation trophy guy either. However, I do think in years past there were more teams that could compete with a legit chance at winning a college football championship than 4. And so that's why I was good for upping it. I think that if you're going to make the argument that getting in as a 12 seed or a 16 seed as a participation trophy, then you can have that argument. That bowl games are participation trophies. Anything that's not in the playoff is a participation trophy because it's treated as if it's a participation trophy. You're going to get very little buy-in from players anymore. You're going to get very little buy-in from fans. That's the one trade-off for expanding the playoff, is that the non-playoff bowl games do shrink in importance, I guess. And that's felt across the board from fans to players to coaches wouldn't admit it. But, I mean, I'm sure Lane Kiffin wasn't exactly stoked to play in the Gator Bowl last year when you were, 1 win away from being in the playoff.
That's a fair point. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just think if we was to get to 12, it's not that if we were even at 12, it's just how we went from 4 to 12. I just don't think that's like a natural progression. It just seems like a very big leap. And now that we're here, I'm like, 12 is cool. We've seen it last year. They've tweaked some things over the off season about playoff seeding and all that stuff.
Right.
fine. But my thing is, if you're at 12, let's give it a substantial run. The 14 playoff was like 10 years. Are we at 12 and are already talking 14 to 16? That's going to happen like next year. I'm keep getting them mixed up.
Right. No, I'm with you.
But like, how are we already here after just a couple years? I don't love rewarding, because that means if you're top 25, we're doing top 25 teams, your AP top 25, you got basically 2/3 of that in the playoff.
Right.
And if we're getting to the round of 16, there may be some 10-2 teams,
Right.
but there's probably a lot of 9-3 teams. And a 9-3 team facing an 11-1 team, you're going to see more times than not why this is not going to be a great match.
You know, maybe, but you know, I did watch a couple of 16 seeds beat a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
That's a difference. Basketball is different.
I know. I get it. And I would go to 16 and get rid of the buys. That's why I would say get rid of the buys. The buys are tricky. I don't necessarily care for them. And I'm all for home field college football playoff games. If I can increase the number of home field college football playoff games, that's what I want to do. I want to do 16, do 2 rounds at home field, because I believe that's the magic of college football is the home field environments. I don't want to do neutral sites. I've always hated neutral sites. I know bowl games, you got to do whatever, but like I want home field stuff for 2 rounds. And that is not because Ole Miss was number 13 last year. Like Ole Miss shot themselves in the foot with a loss to Kentucky. Okay. You weren't going to hear me gripe, you know, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Missouri, Louisville. I mean, there were some teams there that were really lobbying hard before the playoff poll came out. And I thought they more or less got it right, because I just don't, as an Ole Miss fan, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know what? We deserved it over another team when we had a home loss to Kentucky and South Carolina. We beat South Carolina 28-3, so they can't get in over us. South Carolina beat y'all, so they're saying Missouri can't get in over us. So that's not sour grapes. I just want 16 teams, no buys, 2 rounds of home field playoff games.
I don't hate that. The more home playoff games, the better. It's just it. I do like, you know, I don't mind the neutral sites the closer you get to the actual national championship, like whatever. And there's something about, I mean, we all grew up on the bowl games and just we're at this neutral, like that's fine. But early on, I do like those environments and what those can do. And that's maybe just because I'm a journalist and I'm in it and I'm a team that's around it. But
you want to get paid to fly somewhere. You don't want to stay.
No, it's not even. I wasn't about to go that way. I mean, although I do like a nice little trip.
In the country. I'd love to go to the Rose Bowl and get paid for it. I mean,
so I'm not even gonna lie about that. But what I'm saying is just like what a home game, just one home game could do for a team like Missouri, Ole Miss, just in recruiting or you know what you can sell to your fans is like. I think that's a cool little novelty if you get to have one of those home playoff games. So I'm with you for sure on
that. Last thing before I get you out of here, I've always been kind of intrigued by Eli Drinkwitz. For one reason, I've kind of really paid attention to him is because Ole Miss and Missouri's head coaching jobs were open at the same time. Ole Miss made the move to go get Lane Kiffin, and there were a lot of names coming out there. I was a Kiffin guy. I'm all for it, just taking the risk. And what's the worst that could happen? Matt Luke was the worst. So it can't get any worse. Go take a swing. I was a Lane Kiffin guy. Keith Carter, the athletic director at Ole Miss, said when asked what other guys he was looking at after the hiring of Lane Kiffin, he mentioned Eli Drinkwitz as his number 2. Missouri had hired him at that point. He came from Appalachian State, and it was kind of a shocker because, you know, message boards and fans, they don't ever think rationally about the good mid-major guy. They're always dreaming of who the superstar you can get from the other team is, you know. And so Eli Drinkwitz being the second option for Keith Carter always kind of made me kind of zero in on what he's doing right now. And he has done an incredible job. And I think it's funny to look at the comparisons between the two, because if you think of the two schools in the SEC who navigated the implementation of the transfer portal the quickest and the most effective from the start, it was Ole Miss and it was Missouri. Do you think that was always the plan with Eli Drinkwitz? I feel like a lot of the success between these two was the buy-in from the administration and the having all these details and the NIL collectives and everything worked out before it was like actually allowed. The groundwork was laid. But do you think that that's what Eli Drinkwitz wants? They had a pretty good high school recruiting class this year, but again, 7th in the portal, really good for Missouri.
Do you think that's what he wants as far as
do you think he likes building his team this way through the portal?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So, the last couple of months, I've basically said, this is how I'm going to start breaking teams down. And a few months ago in the offseason, I was doing something kind of like going over SEC teams and, key additions, key departures.
Right.
For some teams, you can tell they're a portal team. And then for other teams, like Alabama, you would think would probably be a high transfer portal team, but they don't actually have to because they're always recruiting at the top and they're getting blue chip prospects who can play right away, actually.
Right.
So they don't have to be top 10 in recruiting and transfer recruiting in any given year because they're going to be top 10 and probably top 5 in, just a normal recruiting, high school recruiting.
Right.
Missouri has kind of found a niche, and so has Ole Miss as being transfer portal teams. Of course, they're going to try to recruit the high school guys and get that talent. You want to have that talent that you can kind of home grow and, it probably, especially now with the rules, be a little bit cheaper to do that.
Right.
But I consider this a transfer portal team. They're going to build their roster through getting guys in the portal, filling in those holes, getting that veteran leadership, and then the freshmen, they can kind of get in where they fit in. And some teams, like I said, some teams are going to be transfer portal teams, some are going to be recruiting. And so I think for people like Kiffin and Drink, they basically said, okay, this is what the rules are. And instead of, kind of pausing and trying to either be stuck in their ways or complain or whatever, I've known Drink said this a couple times, like, the rules are the rules. So I'm going to just start playing by how the rules are instead of trying to say, but this is this way. And we've been like this for years and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, the game is going to be the game. And if you want to play the game, you want to continue to coach, you need to adapt as best you can and try to find other ways to make your team the best it can be. However it's going to be, of course, legally. However that is.
I don't think there is illegal anymore.
Oh, not anymore. But, get it done the way you need to get it done. So, I think Drink and Kiffin in this regard, they just kind of attacked it and said, this is what it needs to be, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff. Jarod, I've got one more quick question for you. And you can make this really brief because this is just a self-serving question from my own thoughts about Ole Miss. Kawan Lacey, very highly rated high school recruit, number 7 running back in the country, spends a year at Missouri. He's now transferred to Ole Miss. What was it? Was he underwhelming? Was he a problem? Why did he leave after a year?
I really cannot tell you. It's not something we've gotten. I mean, I can't remember how many games he played, but I remember for a 4th string running back, he got a decent amount of touches. I mean, for a 4th string, I don't feel like they usually get 4th string guys. Oh no,
I
want to say he redshirt. I can't even remember. It's been so long. I can't remember if he redshirted.
I think I saw he had 3 years of eligibility left, so I don't know. Yeah, so
maybe he played 5 or 6. I don't know, but I really couldn't tell you. And as far as me just thinking about it, it's been like 8 months. Like sometimes for me, once players leave, I'm like, all right,
they're dead to me.
They're not dead.
Screw you. You chose someone else. Yeah, that's how I am.
me personally, no. I want all the kids to do well. I'm not. It doesn't do nothing for me. But as far as thinking about it, it's been 8 months. So I've been thinking about who's here, and I just worry about them. But I couldn't tell you, what it is. There's always something. Maybe he saw a better opportunity at Ole Miss. It could be a number of things, really.
I could tell you, Ole Miss lost Quinshawn Judkins going into last season. You can call me a homer or not. Ole Miss could not run the ball all year long, and I believe if Quinshon Judkins is on that team, Ole Miss is at minimum 11-1 going out of the regular. In the games they lost, they just could not run the ball, and they were close. And you should have just won them if you can just control the tempo a little better. You just had no running back at all. And Quinshon Judkins won a national championship with Ohio State, so I feel a little validated in saying that. So, Jarod, I knew I was going to do that. I did it the whole time. But, if you didn't – if I wasn't stressing out so much about it, I wouldn't have even thought about it. Jarod, thank you. Thank you so much for being the first Missouri beat reporter. Come on, the 2 Buck Sports Show. Really appreciated your insight. Thank you for jumping on with us. Where can everybody find you?
Yes, powermizzou.com, and on Twitter it's Jarod C. Hamilton, JarodChamilton.
All right, Jarod C. Hamilton on Twitter, powermizzou.com. Thank you, Jarod.
Of course, thank you.
Choking and token. The Mid-South's first cannabis-themed jiu-jitsu tournament.
August 16th at Midtown Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu.
At 1 p.m. 21 plus to compete or consume.
Consumption not required.
Ounce of Hope is licensed by the state of Tennessee. This is all 100% legal hemp products. Everything's good to go.
We'll have gi divisions.
No gi divisions.
Madison bracket, guaranteeing 4 matches per division, plus an absolute winner.
Each fighter receives an Ounce of Hope gift bag, and there's prizes for every winner.
Check out the link below to sign up.
Read some stuff about Gigi this week.
I didn't.
No, good.
Okay, good.
Gigi talked about how he's changing his routine. He's getting up earlier in the morning and, trying to get his day started. He wants to make sure that he's like 30 minutes early to everything. And, those are little things, but those are things that, hey, if you're serious, come on, do those things.
No, that shows a level of growth because you want to create a routine. I think what it was in the past, if we're talking about it in this fashion, there was no real routine. It was get up when you got up. You were going to get the work in, but it was whenever you got it in. Yeah, this is not a question of if he's good enough to do it. It was he going to be mature enough to allow himself to be good enough to do it. A lot of how we will be how much growth he has made.
Tune in to the Night Court podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
Welcome back to the 2 Buck Sports Show. This is not Jarod Hamilton. This is Kenny Stumblefield here with me to wrap up the show. As we wrap up, I just want to say thank you one more time to Jarod Hamilton from PowerMizzou.com for joining us to talk about the Missouri Tigers. Lots of fun, lots of insight there. I'm always fascinated by the rivalries in the SEC, and that's why I really wanted to dig in with him about, as not the newest addition to the SEC, but 12 years ago when they were added in, what their rivalry situation was.
We're going to wrap really quickly here, but I just want to say the level of entitlement coming from schools that are already involved in the Power Four conference is wild to me. I just don't understand. Both Ole Miss and Missouri, both of y'all were like, no more expansion. We got teams that Memphis desperately, you got to let us in, man. Let us in. Let Memphis into the Power Four.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think the expansion hurts Memphis' chances one bit. I think Memphis probably should want a 32 team, you know.
I wanted to ask him so many questions because Missouri and Memphis have some heat, man. They got some heat. I wanted to ask him about why Missouri took our home game away. Why did they decide not to come to Memphis and play us?
I can tell you why.
They paid us $1 million to go to St. Louis.
I can tell you why. It's the same reason that that Indiana canceled their game and USC canceled their game with Ole Miss. It's like, what do you gain for it? It's a race to 10 wins. 10 wins get you in.
They would have gained a loss, is what they would have gained. They would have gained a loss.
There is nothing to win. This is their mindset. And this is why Ole Miss doesn't schedule Memphis anymore anyways. We lost too much. We gained nothing, but if you lose, then it's detrimental. It's talked about the rest of the year.
I feel you.
So, thank you to Jared. Thank you for Kenny for hopping on with me today on the $2 Sports Show. Back tomorrow. Hey, this is a daily grind at this point.
Nice.
So, nice little plug. So, check out Anthony Sane here in 2 hours here on Bluff City Media's YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, we've got Luke Hatmaker and Daily Grind. And then I'll be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock for another episode of the $2 Sports Show. Thank you, Kenny. Rusty's still making it. He sent me a picture of a nice steak last night.
Let's go.
Apparently he's eating good, enjoying his time in Denver, Colorado. Don't anybody be worrying about him.
He'll be fine, right?
So he'll be fine. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page, like this video, and leave a comment. We will see you back here in a few days.